Hi everyone, welcome back to Willow and Wisdom Apothecary. Today we are diving into one of my favorite parts of gardening, seed starting. It is my 4th year seed starting and I am by no means an expert. I am still experimenting with what works well for me, trying different methods, different soil blends, just having fun and learning as we go. So what works well for me might not work well for you. I just suggest you dive right in and try. It's really fun. By starting from seed, we are A, saving money, B, learning about the plants and how each plant germinates, how long it takes, and C, get the satisfaction of growing your plant from start to finish. I will be showing you 3 different methods of seed starting: traditional, seed trays, soil blocks, and winter sowing. My goal is to plant 4 types of seed that my friend had gifted me: basil, parsley, thyme, and sage, in order to create an indoor herb garden while also preparing for outdoor planting when the weather warms up a bit. Whether you're new to gardening or looking for something different to try, this video has a little bit of something for everyone. So grab your seeds and let's get growing. Before we dive into planting, let's take a quick look at the 3 techniques that we will be using to start seeds today. Each method has its own unique benefits, so whether you are short on space, love eco-friendly solutions, or want to have a low-maintenance approach, there's hopefully something that you're eager to try today. The first method is traditional seed starting trays. This is a classic technique, perfect for beginners. It's simple and efficient, giving seeds a great start indoors. Next, we have soil blocks. These are little compressed cubes of soil that eliminate the need for plastic seed starting trays. They're an eco-friendly option that helps reduce the risk of transplant shock when planting your seedlings outdoors. Finally, there's winter sowing, which is a hands-off outdoor method. It mimics nature by letting seeds germinate at their own pace while using repurposed, recycled containers such as milk jugs. This method is perfect if you're low on indoor space or want to try something different. In the end of this video, you will see how each method works and which one might work best for your gardening goals. Let's take a quick look at what supplies you will need in order to get started. First up, traditional seed starting trays. So traditional seed starting trays are the most common and the most used seed starting method, so it's fairly easy to find these seed starting trays. I just found this one locally in one of the stores that by me. I do reuse them. I just washed it out. Not the best job. When I'm cleaning out the seed tray, you're supposed to use like a mixture of bleach and water. I did that one year. I just find it to be a hassle. I had to fill up my tub and it was just like a big thing. Since then, I've just really used warm soapy water and I've had good luck with that. I know that's probably a big no-no, but I haven't had any issue with it so far, and that's what works well for me, and that's what I did here. So it comes with the lid. This is like a humidity dome that will help hold in the moisture as the seeds germinate. It comes with cells that will start each seedling in, and then a reservoir at the bottom to help water and help so the water doesn't drip down anywhere you don't want it to. It has these little holes on the bottom, so this helps catch it. You're also going to want a seed starting mix. This is a seed starting mix I got locally. You want you can look up online different sources for good quality seed starting mix. There's tons of YouTube videos I've even watched on different seed starting mixes and germination rates, because it does matter. This is the best one I could find locally near me. So the difference between seed starting mix and general purpose soil, this is more light and fluffy. It has rooms for the little seedlings to germinate and grow and push roots down. You're also going to want some water. Use water just to pre-moisten the soil before it goes in. I like to have a container handy to mix the soil in. This is just an old tote that I have laying around. For all 3 of these methods, I also like to top mine with some vermiculite, which helps hold in moisture and reduce the risk of fungus or mold forming. Also, don't forget to label. There's different ways to label. There's label markers like this that you can get. There's more narrow ones, like this is the one I used from a couple of years ago. But I find that this could just get costly, especially if you have low germination rate or just kind of a pain to have all this plastic. I just use labels or duct tape. You can see from last year what I had in there. So I just take it off and put new ones on every year of each row that I have and what's growing in that row. So if you're labeling, especially if you're using one of these and the inside of your trays there's a lot of moisture that forms inside of here. So you want to use a good marker. You can use permanent markers. I've done that before. Long term, they don't hold up out in the weather if you're going to use your markers outside. So you want to get a garden marker that's water resistant and will hold up. And then the last thing I do is I just spritz my seedlings on top after they're in. So I just have like an inexpensive water bottle. And that's it for traditional seed starting supplies. For both the soil blocking and the winter sowing, we will use just an all-purpose organic soil blocking. This is so good for if you're low on space. My grow room isn't very huge, so I run into that issue because I want to start a lot of seeds. So I run out of room real fast with the seed trays. So I like soil blocking. I have this one soil blocker. I believe it's like 3/4 inch. I think I ordered this off Amazon. I got this one and a 2-inch that came in like a bundle. I haven't taken the best care of it over the years, but I will be better about it. That's my mission for myself. This is a 3/4 inch soil blocker. It's great for saving space for the tiny little seedlings that you can use. I find it doesn't work great for larger seeds just because they're not very big and they dried out fast, and if you have to plant your seed at a certain depth, I don't know, I just struggled with this size, so I have ordered the 1.5 inch. So I found with the 2-inch that I was running into the same issue with the seed trays. I was just running out of space really fast. So I opted this year, I'm going to try this 1.5 inch size. It's in between the 3/4 and the 2-inch. And I'm hoping that for the larger seeds, this will work great. For the small, tiny seeds, I love this size. It works really well. Now, as far as containers for soil blocking, there's different things you can use. I like to recycle things I have, so I've just kind of sanitized this old meat tray. This to-go container that I had, like a rotisserie chicken, I believe, from the grocery store. It already has a humidity dome on top of it. And this is just a tray from one of my like window box containers. So if you're using these, you'll also need a piece of saran wrap or something to just cover the top to get that humidity in there. Also, for soil blocking, the last thing you'll need is the vermiculite, labels, and I spritz water on top as well. And your soil, a container to mix in, and some water, and that's really all you need for soil blocking. Last up on our 3 different methods we will use to seed start today is winter sowing. This is one of my favorite methods of winter sowing. It's so much fun, it's so hands-off, and it just allows you to grow seeds without that overhead cost of grow lights, of heat mats, of storage units, a place to grow where your family or whatever pets won't get into it. So this, all you need is like a milk jug. I've seen people use water jugs. So you just basically cut it in half, poke holes in the bottom. I poke some holes in the sides as well, and leave the lid off. So that's your growing medium. It mimics a greenhouse. I leave it attached so it has a little lid, duct tape to seal it up around the outside, soil, your labels, water, and the vermiculite on top. Stick it outside and that's it. This is so fun to do. If you haven't tried winter sowing, I highly suggest it. It's really fun. So that concludes our seed starting supplies. Fairly simple, fairly easy to find most of this stuff. Next up, let's plant some seeds. Well, first up, we will be doing our traditional seed starting trays. This is a 36 count tray. I like this 36 version just because it's more compact, helps save on space, especially if I'm not going to be growing a lot of any one thing. Again, we have our tray at the bottom that will help catch the water as it drains out of these holes in the bottom. And our humidity dome, which will help hold in the moisture as the seeds are germinating. I have poured in our seed starting mix. See, it's light, it's fluffy, there's a lot of perlite in there. That's just what seedlings need as they're getting going. Not a lot of resistance. Helps hold the moisture well. Good drainage, but not a lot of big chunks that could prohibit the seeds from sprouting and the roots from developing. So what we will do first is add water to this. That will help pre-moisten. So as we fill the cells, they won't compact down the road when we are watering them. Kind of like you're building a snowball. You just mix and add water until you almost get a snowball consistency. You don't want water dripping out of there, but you want it watered enough that it'll help hold its shape. I just poured in enough seed starting mix in order to fill this tray. I am not starting a bunch of seeds today, so I don't want a bunch of soil just sitting around. And then when it dries, it's harder to add water to it after the fact, once you've already added water to it. So that's still a little, it's pretty good, but I'm gonna add a little more water. Good, see when you squeeze it and there's no water dripping out of it. I just kind of pile it on, move it around. So I just pack down the cells gently with my fingers just to make sure there's no air pockets. See how the soil presses down? I'm not pressing firmly. You still want the seedlings to be able to push their roots down. So first let's start with the sage. What you want to do is you want to read the back. All seed packets, regardless of the company, on the back have growing information on seed germination and whatnot. So you want to read that. It tells you how deep to plant the seeds in the soil, what light is required to grow. So for the sage, the planting depth is 1/4 inch. So if you're unsure how far 1/4 of an inch is, what you can do is you can just take anything, even a skewer or something like that. One time I did it with the back of a paintbrush even. I'm just going to use this plant tag for now. We'll just put a little dot at 1/4. You can put a little dot at 1/2. So that just gives you the general idea of how deep to plant your seedlings. You can just kind of stick it down in the soil, and then you know that far is 1/4 inch. I like to prep it first just so it's easy. 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/4 inch. Those I'll put 2 sage seeds in each one. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to put this in the tray here. That way I can label. So I'm going to put my label right here for the sage row. So I'll do that first so I don't forget. I like to just cut these in half just to save space. You can use what you have. So we will write, I'm just going to write garden sage, today's date when we started it, and then I'll put plant spacing 18 inches. You can also put, if you're unsure, how long it could take for germination, or how tall the plant is if you want to plant it out just for reference. Sometimes I find that's easier than trying to go dig back through your seed packets. So I have garden sage. It doesn't grow 18 inches. I'm not going to write that. I'm just going to write garden sage and the date on mine for today. I have garden sage that comes back as a perennial in my garden, and it is way bigger than 18 inches across. 2 in each. That helps ensure more successful germination rate. Next up, we'll do time. So this one, is also a 1/4 inch depth. So we'll make our little holes. So that one I already did. So these seeds are really small. I have also brought out a small dish. Sometimes I use a small dish and a toothpick if the seeds are so small I cannot pick them up. So now, before we go any further, I forgot to label, so I'm going to label right now. We'll just write time and the date. I'm trying to be better about learning more botanical names. Sometimes I'll write the botanical name as well. Okay, next up, parsley. This is also a 1/4 inch. Basil, again, 1/4 inch depth, space deep. You know what? I want a lot of basil. So I am going to fill the rest of this with basil. I love basil. I love making pesto. I want to do flower arrangements with basil. So I would love to have a bunch of it. Basil with the arrow over ×3. So I know I have 3 rows of that. Now we got to just close our openings where the seeds are. I just like to do a fine coating of vermiculite on top. Will help hold in moisture, especially when the seeds haven't germinated yet. The top layer of the soil can dry out pretty quickly, so the vermiculite will just help to hold the moisture in. And then I spray the top, so we're watering in our seeds. Now we place our humidity dome on top and they're ready. We are going to put these under grow lights because we are growing them inside. They need enough light in order to germinate. The days to germination are 10 to 20 for the sage, 21 to 28 days germination for the parsley. Seedlings germinate for the time in 14 to 21 days. So 7 to 14 days for this. So these two will germinate a little faster than these two, so we'll see how that goes. I should have planned for that better. One thing, if you're doing multiple seeds under one humidity dome, if some germinate in 3 to 5 days and some take 3 weeks, you're not going to want to put them under the same humidity dome. I've done it before. What I do is I would take this off when one row has germinated, cover the rest with like saran wrap or something else, just to help hold in the moisture for those other plants until they have an opportunity to germinate. Oh, this one, I didn't read it. The parsley says soak the seeds overnight. I didn't do that. We'll see how it germinates. I'm going to put these on a heat mat. That will help keep the soil warm. It's about 54 degrees Fahrenheit in my grow room right now on average. So keeping them on a heat mat will help heat the soil up and help speed the germination rate for this. So I like to keep my labels facing out. That way I can see what it is at a glance. And I know this is sage, this is thyme, this is parsley, and this is basil from there over. Well, that was fun. I love getting my hands in the soil, especially the first time in the year. Next up, we will be doing soil blocks followed by winter sowing. So next up on our seed starting adventure is soil blocking. Those seeds were pretty small, so I'm just going to use this 3/4 inch soil blocker. What I want to do first is sift the soil. This soil, we're not using the seed starting mix, we're using all-purpose potting soil or regular potting soil. It's going to hold up better when you're soil blocking. I made this sifter homemade. It's just scrap wood that I had laying around, a 1/4 inch hardware cloth or mesh, and I just stapled it on the back. This is, normally I do it over my wheelbarrow, but this is a smaller version of it, so I'm just going to try to do my best to keep it right here. We need to sift it in order to get the big chunks that help with the drainage on regular plants out, but for seed starting we want those out of there, so I'm just going to sift it. There's many methods of soil blocking. There's soil mixes you can use. I'm looking into switching to Pro Mix. I'm not there yet, so this is what I had available near me, so this is what I'm going to use. So you can see the big chunks that were left over. I will keep this, so when I'm transplanting like orchids or any plant that needs a lot of drainage, I keep this and then we'll reuse it in those applications. All of these big chunks would have gotten stuck in the soil block and it would have prevented you. See how a seedling won't make it through that? It would be poor germination with that, and I wouldn't like it too much. So we'll keep this for later application. So this, we're going to add water to this as well. I don't want to do it in here though, because this was, I did it by accident. I wanted to keep this for the bigger chunks. So you don't want traditional seed starting mix because it won't hold up. So again, we're just going to mix this. You don't want it like a river, but you want it dripping. That's really good. I have some water here so I can just rinse my hands off easily. And in an attempt to save my soil blocker from damage, I have this to rinse it off in between. So what you want to do is I kind of come in at an angle, get a good amount of the soil, and then I press it down. I found with this as well, you can see along the edges is where you're going to need the most, so I'll just kind of switch it up and then press it down. I normally have a paint scraper. I'll scrape it down. I forgot it, but I'll just use scissors here so we get a nice flat bottom. So this I will do 2 sets of. So I will push it down, plunge it while you're putting a little force down, and then lift. And there you got your soil blocks. These are cool because they're like completely separate. So each individual cell, it's its own separate. It has a little indentation already where you can put the plant, the seed in. The benefits of soil blocking is it does what you call air pruning. So as the roots reach for the edge, say with the traditional seed tray, it finds like a hard surface and it'll kind of wrap itself around. If you've seen seedlings and you pull them out, they kind of look root bound on the bottom. The roots will look all tangled and stuff. This will reach this and say, oh no, that's air. And it won't. It'll just create more of a root network. This is a lot healthier for the plant. So again, I'm just kind of pushing down. It's easier to do with 2 hands. Got a nice flat bottom. We'll push down a bit, plunge, lift up. So this one you can see I didn't have as much soil packed in this cell. It's okay, I'm gonna leave it. So we have here 4 by 5, so we have 40 seed cells ready to go. That's a lot. I don't need that many. But it's all right, we'll just go with it. So let's label first. I'm just going to write, I'll do the 2 that takes 7 to 14 days, that side, and these ones take a little longer. I'm just gonna do 1 in each. Do 2 in each just because we didn't soak it. So I'm gonna really want to make sure that this is kept damp. This I'm putting way more than 1 in there. Hopefully it's okay. They're so small. Last but not least, basil. Now we will top with the vermiculite. I use the vermiculite to replace the 1/4 inch spacing. I've tried putting soil on top of this before. It doesn't sit right. It just doesn't work well. So I'm just going to top with the vermiculite in lieu of extra soil. So I'll put this on a little bit thicker. Spray it. I happen to have another one that's the same exact size, so I'm just going to use that as our humidity dome. You can also cover it with saran wrap. So we will take this over here. So as you can see, for comparison, this is 40 seeds planted. This is 36. Look at the size difference. That's why I love soil blocking when you don't have a lot of room. It just saves so much space. Last up on our seed starting adventure is winter sowing. So what we're going to do is take the milk jugs. Say the milk jugs are like this. I already cut all the ones I have. So I'm just kind of take just below the handle and I start a slice just with a box cutter or scissors, and I cut right around all the way to the other side. I leave about an inch or two gap in order to create a hinge. So we have the handle to hang on to, we have a hinge, we open it up, we are going to create drainage holes on the bottom. I kind of do one in each quadrant. I also do holes on the side. I just kind of poke it with a knife or scissors. That way, if this gets blocked somehow, there's still drainage on the sides. We're going to dampen our soil so it's pretty wet. You can see like that, it's pretty wet. Because this is going to get the bulk of the water. We're not going to do much of anything else to these plants unless it's really dry outside. They're just going to get natural snow and or rain depending on where you live. So this is the best part about this. It's just truly a hands-off method. So I did 3 already. I have 1 more. So I have my milk jug. I open it up and I'm just going to fill it with the soil. I don't bother sifting the soil. It's not really needed for this. This is going to live in here until it's ready to be planted out in the ground, whereas the other seedlings can be potted up in order to grow. These are going to be nice, big, healthy plants. We use regular potting soil. That way it gets all of the nutrients it needs for the season. So we don't have to worry about fertilizing these. So we're just going to pack it down a little bit. Now this is important to do, is label. As we've mentioned before with everything, there's 2 ways I label. I label on the inside and the outside, so I will be using these plant tags. I've used popsicle sticks in the past. They just kind of get messed up with the rain. They get smudgy, so I don't do that. I just go right to the plant labels with a garden marker. I've also seen someone cut up old window blinds and use them as garden markers, so just get creative with what you have on hand. So I will write parsley, Italian, dark green, 1/825. On the back, sometimes I write the spacing or growing conditions, anything that I might need to remember, I'll write on the back as well. But for today, I'm just going to drop these in on the edge. I like to keep it in a spot where they're all similar so I know where I'm looking. We need our 1/4 inch spacing, depth. So in each one, I'm not going to jam pack full. Some people, there's different methods. I'll probably do like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That way if they do grow big, you have plenty of room for them to grow. You don't have to worry about them getting too root bound. I find this method works best, assembly line method, especially if you're going to do more than one type of seed. I mean, you could, but whoops, I'm not going to. Oh shucks, I just jumped out. Whoops. I got a whole bunch on the counter here. The thyme might get scattered, it kind of dumped. Okay. So the benefits of this is it mimics nature. It's going to hibernate until it's ready to sprout in the spring. I find that they're more cold hardy plants. They're more ready to adapt in the conditions you have. They're hardier, stronger, and you don't have to invest in grow lights and all that stuff. This is all like soil, recycled material, and duct tape. And we're going to cover our holes next. Again, I will cover with vermiculite. Okay. I'm not going to use my watering can to water these in because I don't want to dislodge the seeds. Spritz the top. This is the last bit of water they'll get from me. They're going to get rainwater, they're going to get snow. It's going to snow in there, it's going to melt. It creates a little greenhouse effect with the covers on. Ideally, you want to start winter sowing when the temperatures aren't fluctuating anymore. So for me, it would be like February. Right now it's like 25 degrees, I think, outside. So it's a little early for this. I'll just keep an eye on them. If I need to, I'll put them in my cold frame. You just don't want those highs and lows too much. Now we're going to cover them. So I just close it. I could do this one at a time. And I just kind of start here and I wrap it around just to seal it closed. Kind of pinch off any openings that create too much air. So I used to write what it is right on top here. Then I found year after year, it gets all messed up on the top and it's harder to reuse them. So I'm just going to write it on the actual duct tape. That way when I peel the duct tape off, the milk jug is still good to go for anything else after. So this is thyme. So I write thyme. I write there's 6 holes in there and 2 to 3 seeds each. So that way I can pay attention to germination rate, and then I write the date. I do this one by one so I don't forget what is what. And that's winter sowing. That's simple as that. We go stick these outside. The hardest part is waiting for spring for it to warm up. We water if it's been super dry. You can tell by the side if there's water. You'll see condensation. If you don't see that anymore, you might need to water. You just kind of water through the top, the opening at the top. Easy peasy. One of my favorites. Oh, my hope is with the indoor growing method, hopefully we can get these started soon. We can start an indoor herb garden is my excitement. My friend also made me this. She decoupaged a pot, so I thought this would be a lovely arrangement to have. We just need some bright light for this. In regards to humidity, we just have to pay attention to what each plant needs, and I am looking forward to setting that up. I actually buy light bulbs that will go into a regular light that are grow light quality, so it will help with the plants, so we can just pop it in the kitchen where I have low natural light. I'm excited for that. Winter sowing method, we can create an herb garden outside, which I'm super excited for, like a little kitchen garden, so you can go out and snip some herbs in order to make dinner. It's winter now. We're a little bit ways off from that. I will top off my gardening beds with fresh compost. I'll probably test my soil and just make sure we are ready to go for the springtime. I'll have my tools cleaned. I'll do that over the winter, clean and sharpen any tools I have that need to be done. And watch these grow. I can't wait, I'm so excited. So in review, we had 3 different methods. Traditional seed starting, which you use a seed starting mix from the store. You fill in, pre-moisten it and then fill the cells. Plant your seeds to the appropriate depth based on the seed packet information on the back. put vermiculite on top, spray them with water to water them in. We put a humidity dome over the top. Once the seeds germinate, you get to about 75-80% germination. We'll take the humidity dome off, take them off the heat mat, so they can acclimate at their own temperature and grow in the growing conditions we have around us. We start fertilizing once the seedlings get a little bit bigger, have more leaves established, but I'll bring you along for that as well. Next up, we had the soil blocking method, which uses these pretty cool tools right here, and using traditional potting soil, organic potting soil mix. We sift it just to get the big chunks out, wet it until you can create like a snowball with your hand. Enough water drips out of the bottom, and then in a container, press down with soil blocks, push down and plunge the handle, and then top with, plant your seeds, top with vermiculite, spray the top. Again, I don't like that for bigger seeds or seeds that have to go to deeper depth. So I'm going to try the bigger one for that. We'll see if that works, or I might just stick with the traditional seed starting trays for that. I'm not quite sure. I haven't decided yet. And then lastly, you have winter sowing. You just take old milk jugs or water containers. You want something that's transparent where the light will get in. Cut a hole halfway down, drainage holes on the bottom, wet your soil, fill it, plant your seeds, vermiculite, spritz the top really good, label on the inside, label on the outside, keep the top off, stick it out in the snow, stick it outside somewhere, and then just watch it grow the more hands-off way to plant your seeds, which I love. It's so fun. I am so excited to post updates, hopefully soon. Within a couple weeks, we should have these indoor ones up and germinated. I will keep you posted with that. The winter sowings were ways off from that, but I will update you with that as well. I encourage you all to leave comments below, share your gardening experience, your seed starting experience. I would love to hear. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just experimenting and having fun. So leave any gardening tips you have below, any questions you may have. I'll try my best to answer them. And like and subscribe for more of my gardening journey. Thank you so much. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye. Hi, duckies. First update 6 days later. I'm so excited. The basil and thyme came up first in the soil block method, followed by sage. It's just starting to sprout now. And then when we go to our traditional seed starting trays, the thyme came up first and the basil's just barely poking through. So exciting.